again. We've got a third Carapax figure. This one is actually Sam's, my 12-year-old son's figure. He got it the same time that I did for 11 bucks, and he's been wanting to turn this guy into a Cyborg figure. Well, I got this head today with the Wonder Woman from Flashpoint. She was on sale for $7. I bought her. We are gonna turn this guy into Cyborg, and we're also gonna do something a little bit different. So we're gonna take his original arms that I got with one of the previous figures that I've already turned into like a Joker or something, and we are going to put these as his arms, which is gonna require us to file down here around these joints in order to get it to fit, but it's gonna look awesome. I'm super excited. Sam is super excited. So let's jump right in and turn this Carapax into a big A Cyborg. All right, so I've had him soaking in hot water, so we're just going to remove his arms here and his head. There we go. Now, these arms are different, as you can see. It's got like a different housing here, so we're gonna have to figure out how to make that work. I'm not quite sure. We're going to experiment and play around because I really would like these arms on here. I think it would look cooler. Plus, it would be much more of a challenge to have these arms on. So we're just we'll figure this out. I'm excited. Just like with the Lex Luthor, we're going to have to sand down around here in order to get the head to fit because the neck is just too thick over there. So let's take him out, sand it down, pop the neck on. What I've decided to do here with the arms is that I think I'm going to cut off this part right here on the arm and drill a hole so that it fits on to this arm. And while we're out in the garage, I'll just do that too, and we'll see if it works. And if not, well, you know, basically I got these arms for free, so we should be just fine. Actually, surprise, surprise, I just forced the head on and it worked, and it still moves and everything. So I'm not going to have to sand that down, which is great. So let's get these arms on here, and this Cyborg's gonna start looking pretty good, hopefully. Here we go with the Dremel. Let's take this thing down. And if it doesn't work, you know, at the end of the day, I got these arms for free. So, you know, because they came with a figure that I already wanted. So I'm okay with them being fodder. All right, I found a drill bit that looks to match, and I'm going to try and hit it right at the exact point where this was. Feed it in there and hopefully have it work. All right, all I had to do was drill the holes. I heated them up a little bit with some hot water, and they went on, and they work perfectly. This is great. Now we just need to spray paint them black and start on the metallics. Yes! All right, so we are spray painting this guy in black, and we're spray painting him completely, all of the pieces, even the new arms, because of the fact that we want all of the metallics to match once we start getting this guy going. So we're gonna completely cover him 100% and then start making him look like real metal. Now that he's all dry, we're going to go through this silver and we're going to paint it black as well. And the reason for that is because I want all of this to have the same metallic look. I don't want any of it to stand out as if it's a different material. And in order to do that, we are going to need to have a black base for the head as well. So I'm just going to go through, get that painted, and then we will start on a dark gray and then to a silver, and man, this guy's gonna look really, really good. So the interesting thing about this particular figure is that I already did one for someone else. Not with the Cyborg head, just with the Carapax head. And so I spray painted him, and I then painted him in silver and experimented, and so I already know how this guy is going to end up looking, and I'm very excited about it because he's going to look really, really cool. So that's something that I don't usually do, is have already done it. And I learned a ton about metallics while doing it. So this guy's going to really, really shine.
So I've decided to remove one of these, and I'm going to put this in its place just to give him a different look. So we're just going to cut it off real quick, glue that in place. All right, so he looks a little weird with this, and I glued some stuff in because I just wanted to fill out the sides. He looked really thin because his head is massive. I mean, even with this Carapax body, his head is really big. So let's go in and spray paint these, and he's going to look much cooler with the little things I've got glued on. So let's get that done and start on the details. Time for our initial covering of silver, and I am using just a silver craft paint, just this guy, a pearl metallic, nothing special, but I'm going very thin. This is just going to be the overlayer on all of this stuff. And I want to go nice and light because I want the black to shine through all over this. And then we'll lighten it up. I'm just going to hit the areas on Carapax that were the sort of reddish brown. And we'll keep these black, and I'll go over that with oh god, what am I trying to say? A gunmetal gray. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah, this is the process here. We're just going to go over all these areas, and this will be our first layer. And then you just keep building up layers. That's all there is to it. You do this nice light layer, and then you can go over a little bit thicker, and you just start to look and see, okay, how are things matching? How are they all looking together as a whole? And if it's starting to look like metal, then you're right where you want it. And there are a couple areas, like you can see here, where the black didn't quite, or I didn't see when I was spray painting and I missed. And you can get a little bit more, I'll fill in those a little bit more with silver to add some nice textures once I'm hitting those areas. So you have stuff like that where it didn't quite get, like from one angle it did and from one it didn't. You don't have to stress out. There are ways to fix that. And you just go through and you fix it. Just that simple. This isn't meant to be a stressful thing. If you're stressed out doing this, then stop doing it. You know, this isn't a job for me. This is just me enjoying, and so I don't have to make it perfect. I don't care to make it perfect. I want it to look cool. I want it to look the best that it can with the time that I can give it. But I don't stress out. I just let myself move from one part to the next, have fun. If it looks good, then great, and if it doesn't, well, then I learned something. Same thing with the head. I'm even going to use the same big brush. I'm just going to move in the same direction. I'm just going to hit it like so. His chin. Then I'll go over it with a slightly smaller brush in a second. Clear on some of the edges, but that's what we're looking for. You can see how everything's kind of got a nice metallic look to it now. And we're going to lighten it up so that it looks even better. Now that we've got the gray, or I guess it's the lighter silver, the darker silver, God, I'm missing up my words. We're now going to go with the Vallejo silver, which is much brighter, and we're just going to dry brush it on. This is just the same process. And if you remember the Lex Luthor, this is what we did with him, but at this point it would have been the metallic green. And so we're going to go over with this one, just dry brushing it on. And you can see it already lights it up. You can see the difference. That's what we want. We want it so that it has another light layer to be able to hit these edges. Not too thick, just enough. And we'll go over all of the silver again with this, just dry brushing it on so that he can have the right look. And I love this part because it's just, he starts to look like he's made of metal, and that is about the best feeling in the world when you got a figure who is made of plastic and starts to look like he's actually got steel parts. So much fun. Then once it's dry, I'm just going to hit some of these edges with a little bit thicker coat, just enough. And that will allow me to have the details stand out. It's the same thing that I did with Lex Luthor. Just a few spots, thicken it up, and it makes it look that much more real. Before I do our last bit of detail, I'm going to go through with the fabric paint and I'm going to add some red to these little spots here. This is going to take a little bit to dry, and I have a moment now before I can spend some time on my last thing. So I'm just going to spend a couple minutes going through and adding these little bits of detail. And then what we're going to do is we'll go through a little bit of gunmetal gray in some of these areas just to add some contrast. So I'm going to do this real quick, add the red, let it dry over the next 8 or 9 hours, and then move forward. What I want to do here is with this orb, it's a little see-through thing and it's cool, but everything else on him is red. So I'm going to add some red paint here, really thin, that Model Air red that I have. That does such beautiful work on light coats, and I'm going to go over it nice and light and hopefully make this red enough, but that it still kind of has the look of being see-through. Not sure if it'll work, but if it doesn't, that's fine. I would still rather have it be red than blue so that it matches everything else. So here we go. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just go through and do some detail work with some gunmetal gray, just on some edges, partially to crisp up a little bit of this red, but also to add some contrast in places. Now, I also wanted to show that, you know, I oftentimes don't show you guys the entire process just because it gets boring. And one of the things I often don't show is when I take things apart. And so I just wanted to show you that, yes, I do remove things so that I can paint under them and do all that sort of stuff. It's just I don't often do it in the videos because it is boring. So for those of you who are wondering, like, oh, does he take those pauldrons off and stuff and the shoulder pads? Yes, I do. I just don't often show it because I find that boring to just get into all of that extra stuff. So I don't necessarily show that. Now with this gunmetal gray, I'm going to go through and I'm going to hit some of these things. I just want there to be contrast. Now obviously it's not going to be like really a huge difference. As you can see, it is because it's gunmetal gray, it's not silver. But a few things like this, just in places, are going to make a big difference detail-wise. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to hit some of these pipes and things just so that there's contrast. Contrast is the name of the game here. So don't be afraid to do that, to go through and add a few subtleties. And it'll make a huge difference. Now I'm just going through and I'm adding a few details in black just to make a few areas stand out. And then I think we're pretty much done. Sometimes these little things really do make a huge difference in the overall figure, so don't be afraid to do them. And if you don't like them, then you just add another layer of silver over the top and it puts it back the way it was. But I like these little areas that stand out in the black. I think they make a huge difference. A third Carapax body, and I am not disappointed. The second I got this Cyborg head, I knew I wanted to do this. And each time that I've used the Carapax body, I've done something different, and I've loved it each time. I still think that Lex Luthor is my favorite. Part of that is my love for the character and just how that suit turned out. But this Cyborg is awesome. Like this little just random funky piece from the Overwatch gun on his back. I mean, it almost makes it look like he has a gun on his back, like he can reach back and grab. He turned out awesome. I love the metallics, everything. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe, check out StephenHuman.com for all of my sci-fi thriller novels. And I hope you guys enjoy this and that you learn something. And if you have tips for me, share them, because I always learn from you guys as you're posting comments and saying, hey, try this or do this. I love it. So let me know where I can improve. And I hope you guys are out customizing yourselves and making cool figures like this. I'm Stephen Human. I'll see you next week.